Without further ado, everybody, the podcast with Adam Posner. Tonight we are featuring Andy Kranick, president of VeeFriends, and Juliette Blake of MissOCool Girl. Come on up. Give them up.
Let's give it up for Pavan and the entire NRVLD crew for all their hard work today. Give it up for him and the crew. Uzo. Welcome, everybody. I know it's been an absolute marathon, so thank you for spending a little time with me and the podcast. I already did my intro up here, so you guys don't need to know any more about me. But let's start over here. Ladies first, I'm thrilled to introduce Miss Juliette Blake. She is the co-founder of MissOCool and its Web3 extension, MissOCool Girls. It's a safe socialization brand that is dedicated to changing the current narrative for girls. Most recently, Juliette launched MissOCool Girls, an NFT collection celebrating that there is no one definition of what it means to be a girl. And we're going to get into that in a second. And my man over here to my left, he works for some dude named Gary V. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him, but Gary and his amazing project, VeeFriends, and Andy steers that rocket ship in the right direction. He comes from the world of digital marketing. He's an awesome dude. I'm thrilled to dig into both projects. But first and foremost, one of the things that has stood out most to me over the last couple of days here is how strong the female community has showed up here. Let's give it up. And that's what it's all about here. And for me, I have a 10-year-old daughter, Nina, and I've had the honor and privilege to experience my Web3 journey and my NFT journey with her. And to me, that's what it's all about. I minted my MissOCool Girls with Juliette. I've had an incredible VeeFriends experience with my daughter opening at cards, and we're going to get right into it. So Juliette first, I'd love if you could just elaborate on the why behind your project.
Absolutely. We're really looking to ensure that girls are included in Web3. They're underrepresented in a lot of areas in media, and everything that I'm doing is really working to change the toxic content narrative for girls. And as we grow into this new technology, we have to build better, we have to build healthier, we have to build safer, and that's really the mission behind MissOCool Girls and everything we're continuing to build.
I love it. Thank you so much. And for anyone who is not familiar with VeeFriends and the characters that Gary first created, would appear to be these doodles, but there's so much more behind those doodles, Andy. I'd love if you could share for those out there who are not familiar with VeeFriends, the meaning behind the characters and the mission.
Meaning behind the characters and the mission. I think the mission is one to create and establish an amazing community, host some amazing events, and foster relationships through that community. And then there's 250 characters which were created to espouse the traits that Gary V is known to talk about: patience, hard work, humility, courage, kindness, and to be able to do that through characters, no longer Gary V.
And I think that's what it's really about too. Part of the VeeFriends, it is moving away from just Gary V. It's one of us. It's one of our phones that are going off here. Andy, what's your personal favorite VeeFriend character?
Someone just asked me this. It changes every day. I'll actually say my personal favorite today, just because you brought it up, is Entrepreneur Elf. Clearly,
that's Gary, my dude.
Clearly, Gary as an entrepreneur has a lot of heart for Entrepreneur Elf, and I think entrepreneurship speaks to a lot of what VeeFriends is and the community that we have.
Awesome, and that's my core elf, my core VeeFriend, one that I absolutely love. Juliette, let's talk a little bit about the mission about onboarding young girls and young women into the world of Web3. What has been the biggest obstacle or challenge or hurdle to overcome, besides overcoming this spring break party at the hotel next to us?
I think the biggest obstacle that I've seen is the current information that is out there is just not relatable. And as soon as we can kind of flip that and really show girls what this whole incredible world of Web3 is and bring them examples that they can actually relate to and that make sense for them. So that's really what we're working to do. I think also there's just not a lot of opportunities to learn, like in general. And I think that goes in, just for the overarching world of Web3, but specifically with girls, they just continue to get left behind.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit. Web3 is supposed to be inclusive. It's supposed to include everybody. It's supposed to be about everything. But I think over the last couple of years, and Gary says it all the time, 98% of projects are going to shit are going to fail. And we've seen these boys clubs projects, these exclusive projects where you have to be on some kind of white list to get into, and you have to know somebody to make something into it. That's not what VeeFriends was about. That's not how it was. It was open to everybody. Andy, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about, and I don't know if you've done this much, but how are you and Gary and the team making the entire VeeFriends ecosystem more open and inclusive, especially to younger generation and girls and boys?
I was thinking of a moment, someone asked Gary, how do I join the VeeFriends community? And his response was like, you already are. You know, the VeeFriends Discord, I'm humbled to say, is one of the largest Discords in all of NFT land. We have over 300,000 community members, you know, and we try to make it as inclusive as possible. Even within VeeFriends and ticketing, like at VCon, we have different rarities of tickets, and we were talking through, should we give special access to certain token holders based on the rarity of the tokens? And Gary's like, fuck that. Because he wanted it to make it a one inclusive community experience for everybody, and to avoid things that go with exclusivity that might be a negative element to building a strong community.
I love it. Juliette, let's talk a little bit about the endowment fund that's helping to fund the MissOCool Girls Project. It's been a long week, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's $25,000.
So we started something called Girls Who Mint, which was an initial $25,000 commitment, and that was to give 250 girls, women, and non-binary $100 worth of ETH, and then like teach them what to do with it. So we've been doing that through one-on-one onboardings, webinars, in-person events, and then most recently we just received a grant from Uniswap to build that out. So they're putting more money into that so we can get ETH into the hands of more girls, as well as build out just like an incredible education platform that's specifically targeted to these underrepresented groups in Web3.
Juliette, in the last month or so, what has made you smile the biggest with your project? Give me that one moment. Give me that one moment you're like, this is what it's all about. This is why me and the team do what we do here.
Honestly, it's the Girls Who Mint. I onboarded Adam and his daughter Nina. We went through the whole process, and seeing these girls' faces when they do it, because they can all do it, figure it out, and when they mint. And actually, about a month ago, the youngest girls that we've had go through Girls Who Mint were 4.5 and 6.5-year-old sisters, and we set them up with their wallets. We gave them the ETH. Like, I videoed the whole thing, and you can find it on our Instagram because like my face is like insane because I'm so happy. But they also were the youngest hackers at Bogota ETH. They're called mini hackers, and they won the hackathon. So like, how cool is that? That these young girls are already, they're just crushing it, and it's really cool to see and be part of it.
I love it. And anybody spends times on the VeeFriends social, there's a lot of content with young kids out there. Andy, talk a little bit about your experience on the ground. You are the face of the brand. You're out there representing the entire project. Talk about some of these interactions that you're having with parents and their kids about how this has helped them communicate better, and share some of the lessons behind each one of those characters in their everyday lives.
You know, since we launched VeeFriends, I've had lots of conversations with the community members that, you know, learning what Web3 is and the onboarding experience was really a strong opportunity to reconnect with like your father or your mother and talk about how you're onboarding into Web3. And then with the VeeFriends compete and collect trading cards, which were physical cards that came with every VeeFriends Series 2, I've been taken aback, honestly, just how well they've been received by the holders. And generally, I'm seeing all across social and on Twitter, parents opening up the packs with kids, and they're being really, really excited about getting well-rounded Warthog or Patient Panda, and then using that opportunity to talk about what that characteristic or trait means.
And it's kind of like a throwback moment here. I used to love to collect baseball cards, and the surprise and delight of opening them up. And when I was doing that, my daughter, and I'll share the clip, it's going to be on my social tomorrow if anybody wants to see it. The pure excitement of my daughter when we opened those packs, and we went through each card, and then we pulled an ultra rare, and we pulled that peacock, and we pulled that robot, and we shared that moment together. Now let's just take for a second back and let's talk about some of the challenges and obstacles when it comes to onboarding and education. And it takes a little bit of finesse and work to open up your first wallet, and then all of a sudden you hear this terrible PR out there about Web3 and NFTs and people getting hacked and rug pulls. Talk about a little bit, Juliette, how do you work with your community to make them feel safe, secure, and overcome a lot of these challenges and obstacles?
Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of parents. So like most of the onboarding we do is tandem, whether it's dads, moms, who's ever the adult in the house. And their number one question is always the safety, always the security. So that's where I think the educational piece is so important, and also sharing the facts with the adults who are also learning it for the first time too. So like we're setting them up together.
Well, let's talk about that for a little bit, that experience of doing it together versus doing it alone. What's some of the actual feedback that you're getting from your parents that you're incorporating into your programming and your educational track?
The way I explain things or information, questions that they have. I mean, and that's actually, and Andy, you kind of talked about it, but being able to have that like intimate connection with the community is really how we're able to learn and be able to build better and grow better. It's all about, right? Web3 is all about community, and hearing what they need from us and what their input is what is really shaping the curriculum that we're putting out.
I love it. And Andy, what you and the VeeFriends teams did in advance of the VeeFriends 2 launch from an educational perspective, the plethora of knowledge that you guys put out there, very user-friendly, easy to understand. Talk to us a little bit about that process and the team of like organizing how we're going to put that information out there and how we want to make this as easy as possible to educate and onboard, especially for younger folks or newbies.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it was a version of what I've been doing for the last 10 years under Gary, which is, having a long form piece of content like a documentary or vlog and then breaking it down to more simple micro content. And I think we took it very seriously. I mean, Web3 at that moment in time, a lot of the VeeFriends community hadn't even heard of Ethereum yet. So we had to go through how do you get an ETH? How do you get MetaMask? How do you mint? How do you buy an NFT? What is an NFT? And it's been really exciting to see. I know there's a lot of VeeFriends community members that minted a VeeFriend and now have really dove into Web3 and are a big community member in other projects as well.
I'm going to share a little secret, little regret I have here. So I interviewed Gary on my podcast in April before the VeeFriends launch came out, and he's like, "Are you excited for it? Are you ready to mint?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I have no freaking clue what a wallet is or what an ETH is or any of that." And now, fast forward, it's one of my regrets, but I am playing catch up and getting back into it. Let's talk about IP. Let's talk about the intellectual property that comes with each one of the characters and the extensions and everything that you could do with it. Andy, we've seen it at Macy's. We've seen the merch, the collaborations, the co-collaborations that you have here. For anybody that doesn't know, they're trying to get a VeeFriend into the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade next year. Let's talk about that for an IP extension. Jeez, I can't wait for that. How does the IP extension, especially into merchandise, help to relate and bring it all together with the younger generation? How does it all tie together?
Well, I think the cliche thing for the naysayers of why Web3 or why NFTs is that it's just like a right-click save image. And to be able to manifest VeeFriends IP characters in the world through apparel and collaborations is a huge objective of ours, and I would say we're still on day one of telling the stories of the 250 different characters we have. And it's just an opportunity to garner more awareness. Like Kim Shui is an amazing female fashion designer. Most of her audience doesn't know anything about VeeFriends. So now to be able to collaborate with her and grow the awareness of VeeFriends, but also highlight Kim is a really amazing opportunity for us.
Juliette, I saw your socials the last couple of weeks, and you're rocking some pretty badass MissOCool girl swag. Tell us a little bit more around the thought process of what you're creating, why, and where it's going to go, and how.
Yeah, so you said it in the beginning, but our NFT collection is really trying to celebrate that there's no one definition of what it means to be a girl. So there's over 600 different traits. And we're also bringing in things that aren't typically shown in traditional media when you're showing girls. So we have acne, and we have braces, and we have gap teeth, and we have upper lip peach fuzz, and we have pimple patches and a shaved off eyebrow because I did that in 7th grade. So we're really trying to incorporate that into our art And then with the licensing extensions, have those characters also be forefront for girls to see as positive representations of whatever being a girl means to them. So and everything we're doing is just having them be at the center of the conversation and the content and taking their stories and being able to elevate them in a really authentic way. And that's how we empower, that's how we build self-esteem, that's how we bring this next generation, this Gen Alpha, that's going to be the largest adopter of this new technology in a really meaningful way.
And I think us as parents, for those who are not involved in this, to really pay attention, because this is what our kids are doing. And let's learn with them and let's learn together. So I'm going to ask a dark side question and I'm going to go back to the light side here. There's a lot of darkness out there in the Web3 world. We all know what's going on out there. We follow the news. Andy, what do you think the biggest threat to the Web3 and more specifically the NFT ecosystem that's happening out there? What do you think the biggest threat is? I didn't say this was going to be easy. It ain't no softball questions up here.
The biggest threat? Misinformation. I think there's a lack of still context and education and understanding of what an NFT is. I think the word NFT in 5 years isn't actually going to be a word.
What's the word? What's it going to be? Digital asset, digital collectible?
Digital collectible, who knows? I think it's just going to be synonymous with things that you own on the internet, which right now feels like a really abstract thing. I'm actually really, really bullish on what Instagram's doing right now. I don't know if you guys have seen, but you're buying and selling NFTs on Instagram, and I think that is just a preview to what we're going to see as platforms evolve and as digital collectibles NFTs evolve.
Awesome. And Juliette, similar question. What's been that big obstacle or scare that's been in the way?
I think not building better, not looking at the lessons learned when it comes to Web 2, especially with kids. These social platforms that the kids are using, they were not built with their best intentions in mind, and they were not built for them, even though they are the largest users of them. And so when it comes to Web 3, and again, these younger generations being the biggest adopters, we have to be able to set them up for success with this new technology and not repeat the same mistakes.
So let's just quickly talk about the technology for a moment. What are some of those learnings on the fly that you're incorporating into the tech that you're building to make it more accessible and user-friendly to someone younger or more or less tech-enabled? I mean, my 10-year-old daughter could blow anybody out of the water here with her TikTok, I promise you that, but a lot of kids can't. How are you making that technology piece an easier entry into the Web3 tech side?
So we're actually going to be building out a blockchain-enabled safe social ecosystem for girls, and so it will be gamified. There will be elements where there's entertainment, and the goal is for girls to be the ones that are creating they're the ones who are controlling the conversation because they're creating it and they are getting their creator and curator value as well. So making it fun and playful and just the same way that they're playing on Roblox or on TikTok, and making it feel native to their play patterns and their learning patterns.
And we all know what an innovator Gary is, and I can only imagine what's going on behind the curtain at the Willy Wonka Gary V factory. But give us a little alpha, Andy. What's some of that native tech that you guys are working on behind the scenes for VeeFriends? Let's give some alpha over here to this crowd.
New website is coming. We have been playing in this Web 2.5 world. There's a lot of anonymous excitement around being anonymous and not giving your data up to Facebook and the Googles of the world. And Web3 has those ethos, but it's also really difficult to be anonymous and invite you to VCon, or to allow you to claim a new hoodie or a t-shirt, and all the different ways we're trying to connect and communicate with holders. So we're developing what we call Web 2.5 on VeeFriends.com so that we can go back in between a little bit of Web 2, the things that we loved of Web 2, the safety, the security, the ease, and still have the Web 3 dynamics.
And absolutely, and I truly believe right now this is the forest fire that we all need. This is the forest fire that is going to burn down all the rug pulls, all those bullshit projects, all those money grabs. And you know what's going to be left? The oaks. Projects like this that are standing tall, and those saplings growing up from the frickin' ashes. The real builders out there that are making shit happen and doing it the right way. So let's end this on some optimism. Juliette, what puts that big smile on your face and gets you so excited about what you're building in Web3 in general?
Just getting this younger generation involved and giving them the opportunity to build and be part of building a technology that they want to see.
Andy?
the VeeFriends team. I had 7 one-on-one 10-minute conversations with some new hires that we just had, and I walked away so happy. They're so talented, so excited, so humble, and I think they're just going to bring a lot of great skill sets and expertise to VeeFriends.
Amazing. And last but not least, this podcast for me over the course of 4 years at 250 episodes is my personal masterclass, that I get to interview amazing people like Andy and Juliette and so many others out there that I see out there. My boy Mecca, how you doing, Mecca?
What up, Mecca?
And I get to learn so much from them. And I ask this question to everybody. Ladies first. Juliette, what is the single greatest piece of advice you've ever received that you take action on daily?
Always ask questions, and I think especially with Web3, I ask a ton of questions, and not being too proud to admit what I don't know.
You're up.
That's okay. I think about staying curious a lot. I would say to love yourself. You have to love yourself first if you ever want to do anything.
And that's how we do it here, people. Juliette, where could people learn more? Where could they find more? Where could they check out MissOCool Girls?
Yeah, MissOCoolGirls.xyz. All handles, all social handles. We're still minting, so anyone who wants to be an ally for girls in Web3, we would love to have you part of our community.
Definitely check it out. It's awesome. And Andy, where can we find this little VeeFriends project at?
At VeeFriends and at VeeCon.
Everybody, I hope you learned something. Hope you laughed a little bit. I want everyone to enjoy the rest of their Art Basel. I want to give a big thanks out to Pava, and I want to give a big thanks out to NRVLD for putting this all together. Jason Kokler, Nobody Studios, everyone out there, my wife, my friends, my family. This is the podcast. You can check it out at thepodcast.com. Remember, take care of each other, look out for one another, and catch us next week for another great episode. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.